What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Halftime with K Bizzy. Today we are at the new house finally. Bit of a scuff setup. I have nowhere to put this microphone, so I gotta hold the shit. Today we have a very special guest. We have the one and only zipeL joining the show. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about zipeL. Not sure how much you guys know about zipeL. So today we're going to be diving into his come up, his journey, and some of the things he's been a part of so far. We touch base on how he got introduced to Counter-Strike, what inspired his YouTube and Twitch journeys. We talk about the different avenues that he went down within the Counter-Strike community. And of course, we touch a bit of base on the #1 StatTrak factory new case hardened back from earlier this year that was sold. Before we get into this episode, I also just want to quickly say thank you very much to everybody who's watching this and who has watched previous episodes with some of your favorite content creators such as Dewup, Franz J, Neok, Gabe Follower, Goldeck, etc. It means so much to me that you guys check these videos out. And if you haven't seen some of the other podcasts that I've posted, please feel free to search through the channel, and I'm positive that you guys will find an episode that you love. But today we have zipeL joining us, and you guys are going to love this. Before we get into the video, I do want to throw in a quick little ad from a very talented Etsy seller who was nice enough to send me this product to show you guys on screen. Check it out. Etsy seller's Stuffed Handmade Toys sent me this amazing handmade CSGO inspired plush chicken. If you want something to spice up your gaming room and give it a bit of a Counter-Strike flair, click the link in the description to shop with Stuffed Handmade Toys on Etsy. Alright, with all that out of the way, we're going to get right into it. Catch you guys on the outro. Hello. Hey, man, how's it going?
Alive and kicking.
Good to hear, good to hear. Good vacation?
Yeah, it was very nice.
Awesome, love that. Let's get into Counter-Strike. How long ago was it that you got into playing CS, and what version did you begin playing CS that got you involved?
I mean, the first time I tried playing the game was 1.6 in school.
In school?
Yeah, I know, not in school, but like, the LAN parties you would have at, or like with friends or something like that, right?
I gotcha.
I didn't have a computer at the time myself, so I couldn't play. But like visiting friends or whatever from school, they would always be playing 1.6. So I would either watch them play or try it myself. I obviously sucked at it. I played RuneScape at the time. That was my game. I played that on the school library computers. Obviously, you couldn't play 1.6 on those.
Yeah.
So I stuck to RuneScape. I think I tried 1.6 here and there, but I really stuck to RuneScape because the level of Danish kids in CS is kind of high. So these guys were good even at a young age. Like all my classmates, all my friends were super good at 1.6. So it was not really enjoyable for me to try and play with them because it's just not good enough, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I didn't have a PC, so the only environment where I could actually play it was at these LAN events, which was, a couple times a year, if even that, right? So,
okay. Super limited then.
Yeah, and then I think I got a MacBook at some point. I started playing Source on that with a mouse, not on the touchpad. I mean, a little bit on the touchpad at first.
What?
I think I just played against bots on touchpad. Yeah, I think I got to Gold Nova 4 or MG on touchpad, actually.
Holy
if I'm not
shit.
mistaken. That's obviously CSGO, not Source. I'm just saying that I started playing on the touchpad in Source, and I actually stuck with that, and I just played super casual.
Holy.
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing. It's really stupid. And then at one point, I actually got a mouse, and I started playing with a friend. And then I was watching Max Skillet back in the day.
Yeah.
I always loved skins, everything like that, and I think at the time I didn't have skins. I had maybe a knife that I unboxed on my first case, by the way, which was pretty stupid.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
What was it again? With a falchion fade or a flip fade?
Falchion fade, yeah.
That's
I got it from an in-game drop, and then I opened it and got a knife. And I remember messaging my I didn't know about knives at the time, so I messaged my cousin. I was like, "Is that good?" And he's like, "No, dude."
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty stupid.
So when you first began playing CS, did you have these intentions to have multiple avenues of being an entrepreneur one day, or was it a game that you just like, I love this game, it's super fun, the skin aspect is cool? Like, what were your intentions when you started playing?
I think anyone that is into CS to some extent probably enjoys watching professional games. So that's why, like, being part of a team is something that is pretty much a no-brainer if it becomes something that is possible to do. The same goes for the owning a marketplace. If you're into skins, that's probably something that could be interesting to work with.
For sure.
So it's always just been going with the flow, like I enjoyed price checking skins at one point in time. I had people coming into the stream being really appreciative of the price checks. This was before there was, a lot of knowledge. People didn't really use buff. There wasn't good ways to price check stuff. Now there's a lot of people that know a lot of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at the time, that service per se was really valuable, and I think it to a level that you can't replicate now. It was very, very, very interesting to people that were into skins, because it sort of displayed a knowledge about skins that you really didn't have uploaded on YouTube or streamed on Twitch and stuff like that. And I got inspired from watching Tea with Milk and Sugar back in the day to just start myself doing that. And yeah, so I started doing that. Then at one point, my Twitch grew to the point where price checks were just not manageable, and then it started becoming not as enjoyable for me. Then I started doing the case opening series, and after having like gone through all the cases, that was also sort of not enjoyable anymore. I never had like an intention of anything with anything that I did. It was sort of just like a spur of the moment thing. Like, okay, right now I enjoy streaming, I'm streaming.
Okay. So
Um,
it's all organic and really like a natural thing. Didn't feel
Yeah, it was
forced.
not like, I was not like trying to suss out how do I get more people to subscribe. I think even when I was at the highest number in terms of Twitch viewers, I was circling around 2 to 3,000 average viewers, and at that point, I think I was probably the streamer with the least amount of subscribers, because it was just it was not like I was not trying to build my stream around making it like I never made money on my stream. Let's put it that way, right? Like I always spent more money for the content that I made, that I brought in. But
You
it
were just
was
streaming for the passion, sort of.
yeah, it was just very enjoyable. I loved talking to the chat. I loved everything about it. But then at some point it just um it started becoming instead of a hobby, it started to feel like something that I needed to do. And that's
That pressure.
yeah, and that's typically when things die down for me. When it's not this like hyper focus, and like in the start when I streamed, if I was going on a holiday, I couldn't even stand not streaming. I remember going on a holiday, and it was not even like I had that much money at the time, and I bought a laptop at the holiday so I could stream from the 2 week holiday instead of just like I'm back
Oh,
in 2 weeks.
damn.
So at the time I was super passionate about doing it, and if you just go live to go live, that's when it sort of yeah, I started losing interest in it.
I kind of get the same way. Like, I'm not monetized on anything that I do, but I also keep myself a full plate of stuff that I do because I'm just passionate about it. And I feel like I'm not really speaking from experience here, but I feel like once it gets to a point where you have an audience that's kind of relying on you or depending
Yeah.
on you to hit that go live button, and Oni Pixel's a great example. That guy doesn't stream for a week and Twitter's freaking out. Oh my god, where is he? Where is he? Like that's got
Yeah.
to feel so pressuring, and to know that like you did all of this off of just passion, and you just did this because you liked it. It was never I'm gonna grind my way to make this a job or something. It kind of just fell in your lap
Exactly,
and you
yeah.
ran with it. I feel like the pressure is probably so much. And Oni just said that he went out on a vacation and took his mom on a trip to Switzerland or wherever he went. I forget exactly where it was, but like he's now giving back to his family because of stuff that he was able to create, and now he has the pressure of everyone that loves him. Oh my god, why aren't you streaming? Why aren't you streaming? Like that's got to be, the guy has a life too. It comes to a point
Yeah.
where you need to take a break, or else if you just surround yourself in this, you just go crazy. At least I do anyway. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, it's insanely unforgiving, right?
For
Like,
sure.
I remember when Ona was like, streaming Minecraft to 50 viewers. And I think I was probably like at my peak of viewers at that time. Like it was when like I kind of faded out as he faded in, if that makes sense. And
Okay.
I remember seeing him like when he started the co-stream stuff, like from the very start. And I saw that and I was like, oh, maybe I should co-stream as well. And then I thought to myself, look, if what would make a successful co-streamer? Well, that would be consistency. Like you would be there. Like you don't want to stream IEM Dallas and then miss the final. And
Oh,
I realized
absolutely.
that
Yeah.
I'm too much of a family man. I have too much IRL stuff that I would miss tournaments, games all over the place. Because if like I'm not missing my brother's birthday or whatever plans I've made because there is a game on, right? And if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, you can't keep up with that stuff. So and as you said earlier, like there's different ways to approach streaming. Like for me, as I said, it was never about reaching a certain point. It was never about anything like that.
It just
It was
happens.
just an avenue to nerd out with skins with people that found that enjoyable as well, right? So if that's never your approach and you never wanted it to become your job, when it then becomes your job or becomes something that people relies on, as you said, it puts an even higher pressure on it compared to if you from the beginning of streaming were like, okay, I want to make this my job. I want to be live every day and this is my job, right? But that was never my intention with it. With everything that I've done is always like, if I can do things that I'm interested in, I know interest change over time, but if I can sort of chase my hobbies and still make a living, that's the ideal scenario for me, right?
100%.
So
You're
so,
living
so
life there.
once yeah, exactly. So once those things are no longer like peak of my interest or I'm going live and it feels forced, I'm not the person that is going to sit there and be like, I'll pull through, I'll do it anyway because I don't need to, right? Like I don't need to be there. I don't need to stream.
And
Um
I also feel like when you get to a point where you're passionate and your passion has given you a career, we'll say, and it gets to a point of, like you said earlier, where it's a burden or like, okay, I got to do this now, then it's like I feel like the kind of direction of your content kind of changes because when you have the passion for something, and I experienced this when I had a skateboard company, when you have a passion for something, you have like you're just your energy surrounding your passion is so much different than when it's like, oh my god, I need to do this by this date and I need to do this, and it's kind of just like I feel like your direction kind of changes and people notice something like that, and then that's where heads will kind of turn. And then
yeah.
when you look at a guy like McSkillet, for instance, I don't, I've never met him, never talked to him, obviously, but he had a lot of things going for him at such a young age, and that to him probably came very quickly as a career rather than a passion. And then he started dabbling in, I think, I don't know if it was a skins marketplace. I'm pretty sure it was a gambling site at one point, but then
Yeah.
I think he got vac banned, and then he lost his gambling site or something, and then obviously that's a huge revenue hit, and that's like a huge scare, and for some reason he went out and did what he did, and that's that doesn't happen every day, but I feel like when stuff like that starts to hit you, you just start to break down, and you have tunnel vision, and you just start going crazy. He went insane with the direction that he went, and that was horrible. But I feel like in that position your world kind of like crashes down on you a little bit, and you kind of just start to panic.
Yeah, I think in his case it was more the case of like um
Some mental
I mean,
illness
I
or
don't want to
something.
go into, I don't want to go too much into detail about stuff that I don't really know fully, but from my understanding, it seemed like just he needed help, right, and he didn't get it,
Yeah,
and he was struggling mentally. Whether it was because of the ban or things like that, you could argue that that could have spiraled into that being even worse, but from what it seems like from the outside, it was just you know untreated mental health problems, right? That
for
that
sure.
sort of picked up and yeah, but yeah, I mean to go back to my own stuff, I think um, it just becomes a thing where if you're um, if you're streaming, if you're doing YouTube and all those things, and um, you don't have the passion to continue it, it's I don't know. For me, I don't know if this is like an ADHD thing or whatever, but as soon as I sort of lose that hyper focus or whatever that I can have on certain projects, it just the crash is like monumental.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
it becomes like such an obstacle in my head to do, right? Like I go from buying a PC on a holiday to stream because I really, really badly want to go live to waking up in the morning and be like, oh, I said I would stream today,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
And if it comes to that, it's just like, is it really worth it? I can say that personally, I don't think that I have, taken advantage of a large subscriber base that, supported me or whatever, because I've never asked for that. Like I've never, if I had 3,000 subscribers, right? I've never had that. Like if I had that and that amount of people were paying me monthly, I would feel super guilty just disappearing, right?
Hmm.
But that was never really the case. It just faded a bit eventually. And I, one thing replaces the other, right? So I don't stream much anymore, but then I get involved in a marketplace. I get involved in an esports team. So it's one thing goes, another one comes, right?
Exactly, and that's what I find super inspiring about your story specifically is, you had your avenues with YouTube and Twitch, and they're still there, but you've also created work for yourself in different places, so you don't have to dedicate yourself to making a YouTube video, a couple times a month or doing a stream a couple times a week or something like that. You can kind of lay back on that and kind of do that when the passion hits you and you want to do it. You have
Yeah.
your hands on other things too, and you've created, to me, as an outsider looking in, it seems to me like you've created a really good life for yourself in the sense of like having multiple career paths.
Yeah, I think the only thing that has really like hit me like a truck is whenever I've had this hyper focus on certain projects, sometimes, you know, let's say creating a marketplace, suddenly you have 10 employees. Okay, you have a large financial commitment to that. You can't
Absolutely.
just bail on that. You can't, right? And suddenly you're part of an esports team. There are wages there. Suddenly you can't bail on that. So while I have the freedom and sort of like just jump between things that I enjoy at the time, I have also sort of gotten in deep with things that I can't just bail on.
A lot of
And that
commitment.
has been, yeah, and that has been like a new thing that I had to sort of unravel and learn how to, do better in. So I think for me, the largest or the biggest hurdle has been to try and not lose my mind into, worries about this project, this thing, how's this gonna go? Because I'm involved in so many things that it becomes hard not to, just be stuck in that flow of worries or flow of what's next with this all the time, right? Like it's
Okay.
hard to switch off entirely. If I was just streaming or just creating videos, at least maybe once I had done the stream and uploaded the video, I could switch off, right? But having nonstop messages flow in on Twitter, having commitments to a marketplace, to an esport team, it becomes like you got to be a lot of places sometimes at once, and sometimes you don't have nothing at all. But then you spend that time worrying about the times when you have a lot on your plate, right? So it's like a whole other challenge. And as someone like me that is super unstructured and you know not the best at I work for myself, I work from home. I think anyone that does that can agree with me that it's not the easiest thing to do. It's a blessing, but it's also sometimes even though I don't think personally that I ever enjoyed or functioned well in a 9 to 5 environment, it's still I miss that feeling of Friday 5 p.m. you're done weekend.
Yeah.
Like I can sit here and be like, is it Tuesday or Saturday? Because it doesn't matter. I always have work if I want to do work, right?
It's almost like a 24/7 thing in a sense, I guess.
Yeah, so like I think the biggest obstacle for me has just been, and I'm still working on it, trying to manage like a healthy work life balance because sometimes if the burnout hits you, which it definitely has to me at times, you just I cope with the burnout by, so like the burnout happens because I'm doing too much or I'm not interested in it anymore, right? And then I just my reaction to it is doing even less. Like that's typically what happens. If you're burned out by, having to do X amount of things every day, you start doing none of the things every day, and then it
Hmm.
becomes even worse, right?
For
So it's
sure.
just a downward spiral of worry.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about your YouTube content and streaming. What was it that actually inspired you to do that? Was it when you started your Twitter, when you started doing your buying and selling and whatnot through that? When you started getting attention there, did that kind of open your eyes up? Like, oh, hey, maybe I should start making YouTube content and streaming as well?
I think Tea with Milk and Sugar, which is a close friend of mine, he was streaming a lot of the time, still does. And every time I got home from work, I would put up his stream on the TV because it was just like this really laid back, like nerdy CS:GO skin stuff that is just like super good background stuff. Like sit on the couch, make a coffee, and just chill and listen to CS:GO skin stuff, right? So that was like a really enjoyable thing for me. And I think I don't remember exactly, but I think he encouraged me to just try myself as well.
For sure.
So I eventually just did and found it super enjoyable for a large period of time until I didn't anymore. But yeah,
It was fun while it lasted kind of thing, like on the come up, I guess.
yeah. I mean, it was a place, as I said, like there was not really that many people doing anything in regards to skins, so it was just a really cool place to gather all the nerds,
For sure.
if you want to call them that, and then yeah, share the passion with like-minded individuals.
So when was it that you saw your journey as a life-changing opportunity, and what was it that opened your eyes to a bright future filled with making CS content and turning your passion into a career?
So I was working at a 9 to 5 job, and I was making like buying posts when I woke up. Then I'd go to work, and essentially straight after work, I would trade skins until midnight. Then I'd go to sleep and repeat. Could I do that now? No. But at the time, it was like, again, this thing I spoke about, like the hyper focus. It was such a thrill that I powered through it, right? And put sort of unreasonable hours into work combined with then more work. But, I didn't consider it work. I sort of got to a point where I was consistently making at least the same as I was at work. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna quit, and just gonna do this instead. I don't normally have a lot of belief in what I do. Like I'm not this like person that is very good at saying you can do anything. But I was pretty confident with what I did with skins. Like I knew I was good at it, and I knew I was good at picking up things and seeing opportunities and things like that. And with that astounding focus I had on CS as a whole, I knew that I could make it last, right? So yeah, I went, you could call it full time on just doing skins, or you could call it, taking time off work, whatever you want to call it. But that's when I sort of knew that I wanted to try and pursue this and do more in it. So, made the Twitter account, started making connections, networking here and there, made a YouTube channel, started streaming, and then from there just picked up things that made sense along the way, right?
For
Um,
sure. And I like the word confidence that you use there. That's a very important word. If you're doing anything in life, whether it's going to your 9 to 5 job or maybe you're doing some type of entrepreneurial venture or whatever it may be that you do in life, confidence is number one. If you don't have confidence, it's going to be really hard for you. I don't want to say it's not going to work for you, but confidence is key for anything you do.
yeah, it's good. Like of course you need to be humble and things like that, but it's good being able to look at something and be like, you know what, I know I can do better than what XYZ is doing.
Sure.
And if you can do that, you're gonna do well.
So, did you ever go to college or university for a business management or something, like some type of degree, or did you always have this kind of business savvy way about you growing up?
When I was in college, I was selling sneakers out of my car,
Sound
and I
like a
was
hip
also
hop artist right now.
yeah, and I was also selling Supreme stuff, because Supreme at the time, this was like when Tyler the Creator blew up and things like that, made Supreme a thing.
Oh yeah,
Well, it was
like
always a thing, but
2013
like a
ish.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay.
like a big thing. And at the time there was no There was no London store, primarily US, Asia, right? And there was a site that sold Supreme that was called, like a forum that was called Strictly Supreme.
Okay.
And at the time, you could only be a member of that if you had made an account in 2011 or before, I think. All these sort of new people that came into Supreme obviously couldn't buy from there because they couldn't make an account. And I don't know if they Strictly Supreme did it because they kind of wanted to gatekeep the brand from like these new, what do you want to call them, like bandwagon Supreme fans or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think I remember it correctly was like that. But anyway, in Denmark, these 5-panel Supreme caps were like, everyone wanted them. I remember just buying a bunch of them on these forums and then just flipping them in school. I was doing that for a bit. And yeah, just small little things that I got interested in and then made some money on it. Not to the level of, what I've done in CS, but I've always been able to have some level of success with things that I'm interested in, right? So I guess you could say I have been entrepreneurial in that regard to some extent. Then after college, I moved to London. I had never been there before. I used some of the money that I had made from these endeavors. I started on like a university preparing course. It was super shit. I stopped it and then I jumped into a university like halfway through. I think I was there for like 1.5 years or something like that. And money was wearing thin. London is not a cheap city. Keep in mind, I was not doing anything CS related at this time. And I moved back to Denmark. I didn't get into the university that I wanted to get into. So the city that I thought I would be moving to, I was not moving to. I was moving to like this farmer town in the middle of nowhere. Didn't really make any friends. Didn't really enjoy the time. So I was just like grinding through, starting university all over because I couldn't transfer the merits for the London studies. I could, but it was only like a select amount of courses, and it wouldn't skip me a year because they distributed in different ways, right? So I
Okay.
started the bachelor degree. It was economics. I just started it from scratch again there, and I got through a year, and I was just like, I cannot live in this city. And then I actually started the same degree in my hometown. I redid the first year of the same degree for the third time, and just
Oh
keep in mind,
my.
I was not failing classes or anything. Like I passed everything. So I did that, and then I completed the degree there. Did I learn anything? I don't think so. Maybe you pick things up that you're not aware of, right? Probably. But I was not really paying attention. I was just like doing bare minimum to get the degree and, get it over with. Sort of like a societal thing. I need to get a degree, right? Like everyone knows that pressure.
I'm the same
Um,
way. I had sorry. I was in college for welding. I graduated, got my diploma and everything, but I've always been more of a hands-on learner. I've never failed any classes in, high school or college or anything like that, but I've always been like I don't know if I have ADHD or something, I don't know, but when it comes to look up at this smart board or this whiteboard and this is the lesson we're doing today, you lose me 10 out of 10 times. I need to be physically hands on doing something, or I just like, my attention just drifts off somewhere else. Like it's so challenging. I don't know what it is.
yeah. And I think there's a good point in this. If somebody listening is struggling with the same thing, it's like one major thing that I did wrong, and I think this is what when I lost my train of thought earlier, is what I wanted to say as well, is that I have managed this like stopping with streaming and YouTube and not doing the same amount of work that I used to because I lost this hyper focus I had in a really bad way, because the way I've managed this is just being like waking up every day and be like, listen here, you piece of shit. You need to get your shit together and you need to work. What happened to you, right? And if you start building that anger and just self-hatred with not being accomplished, not doing the things that you used to be able to do, or not being able to pay attention, it's like, why can these guys take notes of an entire uni lecture and I can't? If that's your mindset and you start doing that, you're only gonna make it worse.
Yeah.
It's such a toxic thing to be in. So I obviously like now realize that it's there could be other reasons why I can't do it. Maybe it's just not for me. And I think it's a really important thing also in terms of mental health to think about, that you're not necessarily lazy. Maybe you just have, you know, certain things that you can't do in a certain way. You need to find a better way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's a natural thing to be hard on yourself and like comparing yourself to someone else. Like I was the same way. I struggled with that for quite a long time. Maybe you need to sit yourself down one night and talk to yourself and just say, what am I doing wrong? Where could I improve? And what am I going to do when I go into class tomorrow differently? That's going to help me get further and achieve, this goal that I've set for myself, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think a good way to do it is just sometimes it's just good to surrender as well. Just say like, look, I don't know how to I don't know how to face this challenge alone. Let me ask someone that can actually give me some valuable insight into it, right? Because I
Yes.
think a lot of the time, like for myself as well, speaking from experience, it's like I feel like I need to be able to do this by myself. A really good thing to sort of reflect and find out where your strengths and weaknesses are and not be too held up with thinking you should be able to do X, Y, Z, right?
And a perfect example of exactly what you just said is you and Nap and Skins for Pros. He had an idea, you had an idea, you had more reach, you put it out there, and then he helped you and kind of built this whole Skins for Pros thing up. And it was like a collaborative effort. And, you could kind of go off and continue doing what your main focus is, but you helped form this thing and you guys both, you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
It was a
exactly. I mean,
perfect example.
I think as well, I would probably have had more ideas on how certain things should be in the start. Like maybe Nap had a question where he's like, do we want to do it this way or this way? And it's a no-brainer for me. But for him, it's like, a big thing. Like, what do we want to do with this thing?
For
So
sure.
maybe I could just say, we do this, done, right? And but everything, to setting up the server, managing it, blah blah blah, like making sure that the rules are written out the right way, all these things. It's like that's when it might have died if it was myself working on it. So
And there's
it
nothing
is, as
wrong
you
with
say, like
asking for help. A
no, no,
lot of
no, no,
people think
never.
that asking for help is like a sign of weakness or something like that. There is nothing ever wrong for asking help in any regard, no matter what it might be. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like in, if there's a big like, it's for some reason like looked at in a negative light. If if you go to a therapist, you're probably mentally ill or whatever, right? So you're depressed or whatever. I think most people could benefit from seeing a therapist, even if they're not depressed, because why would you go when you're depressed, not to avoid becoming depressed?
Yeah.
Everyone can learn more about themselves.
Going back toward the whole entrepreneurial aspect of your life, obviously you're the co-owner of both SkinBid and the pro team, Team ECSTATIC. Can you tell the people a bit about how you got involved in these ventures and what led you to head down these paths?
Yeah, so SkinBid, as a start, um, I obviously had seen what marketplaces were around. I thought the auction aspect would be really cool to see. That was also sort of a spur of the moment thing. I became obsessed with the idea that I could make a good marketplace, and I found people that I could make it with, and just made it happen, right? And also, like, I will say that buying and selling skins privately after a certain period of time can be pretty exhausting. So
Yeah.
in my head, I was like, what if I can make a marketplace that people enjoy using, that is fair, that is transparent, that is regulated appropriately and following EU regulations and things like that. Like a proper company. If I can make that and it can be it can run smoothly and be worth some money, then maybe I could slow down on trading myself as well, right? So it's sort of like trying to protect myself in the future as well, and have something that is more automated, that is not just a temporary thing, right? Something scalable, you may say. And
Okay.
then as for the esport team, it was just the two other owners reaching out to me, asking me to come to an event. I think it was Blast in Copenhagen, and they, we discussed the team, what they wanted to do, how I would fit in, and I was just all over it. I loved it, and yeah, the rest is history on that as well.
That's amazing, and I can only imagine from your point of view, from being, just at one point in time, just being a regular person with a passion, and now you're getting approached by organizations that want you to be a part of esports teams, and now being the co-owner of a popular marketplace, like that's got to feel amazing. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is that, at times it doesn't, because you become so complacent with your situation. Instead of thinking about, oh, it's so nice to be part of a pro team and have a marketplace, you think about, oh, the numbers aren't looking as good as they they were last month, or now we made the major, but now we have to start over again because we sold the team. It's all about mindset as well, and that's going back to what we spoke about before. Is something I'm trying to work on as well, to be just practice gratitude and try and be happier with like focusing on the right things instead of just always worrying or always looking at it could have been better, it could have been this. But for sure, it's when you put it like that, you're right. I mean, it's a blessing to be able to do things like that, especially from going back and revisiting myself when I was just watching Astralis win the major against VP and Train. If you told that kid there that you would have a team that would qualify for a major, you have a marketplace, you have all these things, you'd be over the moon. But now I'm
for
sat
sure.
here, having bad base and thinking that everything is shit. But I mean, that's life as well, right? You everything is relative, and worries never end. No matter how successful you are, or no matter how many good things you have going for you, the brain is sadly functioning in a way that you'll always have things to worry about. You always adjust yourself or your mind to the position. You can't be on cloud nine forever, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a very important thing too. Like, you still have your hands very busy in all types of different working environments, we'll say. So, I guess it's important to not get so caught up in the moment because then you'll start falling behind. But I'm sure when you get older and maybe you retire or whatever, like when you get older, you can look back at all of this and then it'll kind of like then you can kind of be like, I did that. I'm super happy. I did all of these amazing things. And I'm sure you feel proud about yourself now, as you very much so should. But when you get older and maybe, when you retire and stuff, it'll be like a new type of, I don't know how I'm trying to word this, but, you can appreciate it in a new light or maybe appreciate it all over again and not have to worry about, numbers and the business aspect of things.
Yeah, for sure. I hope it gets to that point as well. My ideas and the things that I was able to establish then are still living on,
Yeah, the
right?
thing is
Uh,
you've cemented your name and your brand, if you want to call it that. zipeL is a staple in Counter-Strike, more ways than one. So you have absolutely left a mark. There's no doubt about that. And I think as long as Counter-Strike goes on, the name zipeL will hold weight, regardless.
I appreciate that.
So tell me, do you have any other big projects or any other entrepreneurial work that you're a part of or looking to be a part of one day that you'd be able to speak on?
I don't really have anything monumental in the pipeline right now. I've mostly been focusing on just trying to maybe like a mass scale burnout from everything that I've been involved in and just trying to get back to a point where I enjoy working on things again and do it in a healthy way. So really just in a position where I am, grateful to be able to step a little bit away. I'm happy that I can sort of step away and do less without everything crumbling and falling to pieces, right? So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to take a different approach where every time that I was burned out or whatever, when I returned, I wanted to do everything again. And now I've come to realization you can't. So I'm trying to like ease my way into, finding a way to work on one of my projects and then the other one. So just take it bit by bit.
One
Yes.
thing I've been very excited to talk to you about is the number one stat track factory new 661 case harden that was publicly spread across Twitter and Reddit like wildfire back in January. It's to my understanding you were a part of helping the owner sell this. What can you talk about with that whole scenario? Because that's
Uh,
history for Counter Strike trading right there.
yeah, I mean it was a crazy thing to be part of. Me and Ruffle together formed a team to sell it. He knew the seller. He went from CS into sneakers, so I probably had the bigger reach and bigger trust in the scene. So like that combined could make a good team to get it sold. And initially it was we got some offers here and there. The seller obviously in the start demanded a much higher price.
Sure, yeah.
Uh, and eventually we found a buyer that where he was interested in negotiating with him, and we landed on a price, and yeah, it sold. It was pretty cool to be part of history like that because
Who
you know
knows when we'll see something like that again, if ever. That's like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, many people are, they're like, who's the buyer? Who's the seller? How did he get it? All these things. And I understand people are curious, but at the same time, I also, it was very evident from the beginning that, people spending this amount of money probably likes their privacy. So
Yeah.
it's like I didn't really want to overstep in terms of like sharing a bunch of stuff with everything like that. The only important aspect for me was just making sure that there was nothing malicious on either end. And when that is established, it was just, smooth sailing. So um, I think that, a lot of people were interested. Is like, how did he get it? All these things, right? I think people should know that I would never have helped sell it if there was any crazy story to that, right? So,
Absolutely. And it had happened in front of all of us. And I remember logging onto Twitter when that all happened, dude, for like a couple weeks. That's the only thing in my feed. It was so big.
yeah, and then people started like, oh, it didn't sell, and all the craze about it kind of like died down a little bit. But people have to remember, there's only a handful of people that are willing to drop that amount of money on an item like that,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
And even for that to sell for that price, it's something that there might be someone in 2 weeks or in 2 years that will come on and offer like much more than the person paid.
The next thing I wanted to ask you was, when you look at your whole career so far, what's been your favorite or least favorite parts about it? What roadblocks have you had in your path that you've been able to work around, and how did you do that?
Good question. I guess um, my favorite part has been to sort of prove to myself that I could chase a passion, chase hobbies, and make it work. I don't think it's anything in particular. If I had to sort of mention something that was just like a mind blowing experience, it was probably qualifying to the major. Right, that was just absolutely unreal experience. And I think if anyone ever has the chance to be part of an esport team in some way, it's just a different way of watching it. I guess it's the same for any sport or whatever, any competition, that if you have a family member or someone that is competing, or used to go to high school with this guy that is now in the Olympics and stuff like that, you're watching that shit in a different way,
Yeah,
so
100%.
being part of that whole journey and qualifying was a crazy experience, and also something I'm super proud of. Yeah, I think my favorite thing is probably just the whole networking thing. Like, there's so many great people in the scene, so many opportunities. Like, if I want to go on a holiday somewhere, I probably know someone that I've spoken to from another esports team, a trader, someone I know from a stream, whatever, right? Like, it's just been an awesome way to connect with people all over the world, and I really cherish that ability to be able to talk to so many people, and get help from so many people, and help so many other people. Like, that's really been fantastic, and having a name where that has some level of trust. So if I wanted to get into, I don't know, like being an agent in I don't know, some ice hockey or something. Maybe I sold skins to someone that competes in ice hockey.
Yeah.
Maybe I know a player agent, like that would be avenues there where I would have a head start, or I would have things that I can tap into that I wouldn't be able to if I hadn't built this network of people that I have spoken to over these years.
That's an amazing way to
Um,
look at it.
yeah, so I think my favorite part is the people, like, for real, like, yeah.
So, thank you tremendously for everything. That is all the questions I had. But the last part of the show, I usually have the guests come and share anything that we haven't covered yet. If you want to shout people out or promote anything that you're working on, or anything that the listeners should know about, please feel free to take the floor and talk one on one with the people listening.
Whew, tough one.
No pressure.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, one thing that I don't know, like, if you've listened so far, I don't know, like, maybe everyone can relate to the fact that people will say you need to find something you're passionate about, or you need to find something you're interested in and work with that, right?
Yeah.
Most of us never get to do that, or don't know what we're interested in, but I think it's a good thing to reflect a bit and try and find out what is it actually you're passionate about, what things. And it doesn't matter if it's a computer game or it's something that other people will label as stupid. Whether you can make a living off of it, or whether you can turned it into a success in one way or the other, that's besides the point. But I think it's good to identify what your passions are, if you have any, and then at least try to look at how you can get involved in it if you want to. And don't be afraid again to ask people for help. I think a lot of people, as I said earlier, they try to do everything themselves. I think a lot of the success I've had is just looking at people that do it better than me, and then if I can talk to them, good. If I can't, then see how they're doing it and then try and replicate parts of it and maybe improve on it if you can, right? I mean, it's the same with your podcast, right? If you did 5 or 6 podcasts and you saw that your numbers weren't going up and you just quit then and there, then it was never the right project for you anyway, right?
Yeah, maybe it works out for a
you're
certain time frame, but after a while, my whole thing is like never kick a dead horse. Like if something's not working and you see it not working and your passion for it's declining, you've had a good run, give it up.
yeah, it's important to, yeah, it really is. I just think it's, I don't know, like one thing that helped me a lot is just, whether journaling works for you or whether like whatever it is, it's talking to someone, whatever, just try and make an effort into being a little bit more aware, because I think, in today's day and age, society is making us into zombies,
Oh, 100%.
yeah, I used to be able to watch a movie. Now if I'm if I'm watching a TV series, I will probably use the 10-second skip because reels fucked my brain up.
Yep.
And all those things like that. It's just I think it's just good to sometimes not, I don't know, wake up and just run around and not know what you're doing, just go on autopilot. It's good to take time off and even if it's just 10 minutes of your day, to just try and think about who you are and what you want to do. I don't know that, and maybe that shit is too deep, but
No,
that's
it's amazing. It's perfectly said too.
uh,
Thank you so much to everybody for watching today, and mega shout out to zipeL. I have nothing but the utmost respect for zipeL. Me and him got in touch a few months ago, and the more that we've been talking, I can tell this dude is just an absolutely amazing person and deserves so much respect. And I'm so grateful that he was willing to join the podcast today and lend me some of his time out of his super busy schedule. As per usual, his links will be down in the description if you guys would like to go check him out and support him, which I highly recommend doing. My links are also in the description if you guys want to stay up to date with things that I'm doing, whether it be on my main YouTube channel or my podcast or whatever else. So that's pretty much it for today. Thank you all for coming and watching. I got to figure out something to do with this mic so I don't have to keep holding this shit. And we will catch you guys on the next episode. Till next time.